Welcome back. Tensions rising in the Caribbean following another deadly U.S. strike on a vessel believed to be trafficking drugs. It happened in the U.S. Southern Command's area of responsibility, which includes Latin America and the Caribbean. President Trump said intelligence had confirmed the vessel was, quote, en route to poison Americans with illicit narcotics. He said 3, quote, male narco-terrorists, unquote, were killed in the strike and that no U.S. forces were harmed. It is at least the third alleged drug trafficking vessel struck by the U.S. The first 2 strikes, also deadly, targeted vessels from Venezuela. Trump's critics have questioned the legality of the strikes, which have killed at least 17 people in total. Venezuela accused the U.S. of waging an, quote, undeclared war. Caracas called for a UN probe into the strikes, which come amid a significant U.S. military buildup in the region. Venezuela has responded with military exercises and by urging its citizens to prepare with weapons training to defend the homelands. For more on this, let's bring in Mike Vigil, former chief of international operations at the U.S. Anti-Drug Agency. Mike, great having you. First up, will these maritime strikes help curb drug flows, or do they risk sparking broader conflicts with Venezuela?
Absolutely not. They're not going to affect the flow of drugs from South America to the United States. Absolutely not. 25% of the drugs come through the Caribbean. 75% come through the Pacific. Now, it's a little bit disturbing that they indicate that they're combating drugs in the Caribbean, but what about the Pacific side? And then the other thing is that, you know, it's going to escalate not only issues with Venezuela, but with a lot of countries in the Caribbean and then also Central and South America. So this is a very tenuous situation. And the fact of the matter is that destroying and killing the individuals on these boats is completely unlawful, and it violates so many laws domestically and internationally.
I want to come back to this. I just want to make a little intervention here, because can these actions change the risk versus reward equation for traffickers?
Not really, because, you know, we've been combating drug trafficking in so many countries. There have been so many drug traffickers that have died as a result of confrontations with security forces, but the profit margins are so great. And then you have a lot of individuals that look at drug trafficking as a way out of poverty. So this is not going to stop, you know, drug trafficking at all.
And I want to go back to the point you made a minute ago. If these traffickers had actually unloaded their cargo and gotten caught, they would not have received a death sentence. I'm wondering how that affects the current case, and if their families could actually complain through legal avenues.
Well, there's a possibility that they can, pursue the killing of these individuals because, Diego, this was unadulterated murder. And the fact is that had they been caught, you know, and prosecuted here in the United States, they would have never received the death penalty. And I think that you put it very apropos when you said that President Trump, you know, is acting as the judge, jury, and high executioner. The first boat, for example, that they destroyed, killing 11 individuals, I'm very familiar with these type of operations, and they never put 11 people on board these little go-fast boats. Normally, the crews are 3 to 4 people. 11 people, never. So that leads me to believe that maybe these were migrants fleeing, you know, the Maduro regime. But certainly, you know, this violates all the precepts of, there's an absence of domestic law authority in this. You know, there's an assassination ban. this falls squarely under the Title 18 of the U.S. Code, which regulates, homicides. And then also this basically violates the provision of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and then also international law. So we're talking about a lot of violations, and Donald Trump throws loosely this term of terrorist. And he indicated that the first boat was managed by the Tren de Aragua. The Tren de Aragua has never been involved in the transportation of drugs, especially using the maritime routes. So all of this is just fabrication by the Trump administration, but what they're committing is basically homicide on the high seas. And this is going to cause a lot of problems, and it's going to lead to a lot of innocent people being killed, because these countries that have coastline, Venezuela, Colombia, and what have you, there's a lot of people on the coast there that go into the Caribbean to fish and what have you. And I don't see any evidence that they knew that these boats that they destroyed were actually carrying drugs. So that is highly questionable, but it certainly violates, international and domestic laws.
Mike Vigil, thank you for your time and insights.
Thank you.
The United Nations General Assembly high-level general debate begins next week. World leaders and top diplomats will outline their nation's priorities, and it's the important task of interpreters to translate their leaders' message to the world. Mitch McCann reports.
Genji, known as CJ, is always on the move. From the General Assembly to the Security Council, diplomacy doesn't wait. There are crises to resolve, trade deals and tensions to navigate. And interpreting the positions of leaders comes with its own pressure.
We need the pressure. We need to take it seriously. Like when the microphone is on, I have to be pushing every other thoughts out of my mind. I can't be thinking about fretting over whether I'll sound good, I will sound good, whether I can come up with some brilliant phrases. No, all those thoughts have to be pushed out, banished to the back of the mind or out of the mind, so we can focus 100%.
Genji is one of more than 100 interpreters at the UN, working discreetly behind a pane of glass